Can you hear me now? Oh, now it's working. I'm not sure if on YouTube if you can see it or not, because apparently it's blocked somehow. Okay, so only one more race to go in terms of the weekly challenges. And finally the microphone is working. Okay, so hello everyone, I'm Shkarterio, so Shkarterio GT or EGT for short. So finally you can hear me. I think I managed to solve the problem. Okay, so let's go and do the final race of the weekly challenges. So it's the World Touring Car 800. Oh, this one. Okay, so which car are we going to use? It's 600 pp. Not really sure so many cars. Yeah, I'm going to try the Ferrari Testarossa. Oh, it has to be less than 600, sorry. I forgot. Okay, so let me check my performance points here. So let's use the oh, sorry, that has less than 600. It's in here. Okay, can we win with the Citroen? Yes, let's see. Okay, so since you finally can hear me, so I just want to say that I usually play with a controller, so that's why some of my steering might seem a bit odd sometimes. Also, like I was saying before, so I usually try not to hit the other cars so that I can get the clean race bonus. Which is not easy sometimes. Fully tuned Citroen sounds nice. passing a Lamborghini and an Aston Martin and Citroen DS. Oh no. So 2 laps to try and catch P1. Not sure which car is Yamaha be using, didn't really notice it. And that's going to be a penalty. Well, apparently not. It's probably the Toyota Supra, GR Supra. No, not. It doesn't brake very well. Well, I broke a bit late, to be fair. every single time. Okay, so I finished the weekly races or weekly challenges. Managed to win everything. Had a few problems today, especially with the internet. Quality was not really that good. Okay, 6-star roulette ticket. So let's see what we can get. So 2 roulette tickets. Okay, so this one first. And now this one. Okay, that's nice. Okay, since apparently my microphone is working now, so I just wanted to say that, well, even though I have been trying to do so in the past few weeks, but I couldn't because my microphone wasn't really working. So I was giving information about IGTT, so which is going to be basically various different competitions that I'll be organizing. Which means international GT tournaments. I think that I will probably talk about that. I'm not sure if I'm going to talk about this now, because I'm probably going to do that maybe tonight. I guess I can make a video talking about that specifically, so about those tournaments. So, but just to give you a kind of summary of the type of tournaments that I'll be organizing. So we're going to start, for example, with something that was very popular, for example, in Gran Turismo 6, which was shuffle racing. So in terms of shuffle racing, there won't really be a DR or SR limit, for example. So the way it will work is that in the first race, the driver that qualifies first will have the better car. So from that specific group, so they are divided in 28 groups. So which means that we'll probably be using all the cars. So that we have here in Gran Turismo. So they will be divided into PP or performance points. And so those 28 groups, so for example, when you finish a race, so if you finish the first race in first place, so in the next race, so you will have the slower car from that specific group, that even though all the groups are going to be random, so we're going to draw to see which groups are going to be in each round. So there will be 10 rounds. So in terms of points, so it will be 15 points for the first driver, so up to 1 point, for example, for the last place driver. It will be like that from 1 to 15 points. So it's very simple, very basic. So then obviously, so I'll be replaying all the races at the end. So I'll be checking if, for example, if there were any incidents or something like that, so you can also tell me. And then I will, so if there are any penalties, so I will make sure to apply those penalties so accordingly, even though the penalties will only apply in terms of, for example, bad driving, not really dirty driving, because if you drive in a dirty way, so you will probably be eliminated from the competition. And so apart from that one, so which will be international standard shuffle tournament, so there will be also an international tune shuffle tournament, so for people that enjoy tuning, for example. So in that case I will set a PP limit. So again, so the cars will be distributed according to your race results. So for example, the faster driver in the first race will have the faster car, and then the slower car, and then it will change, so every race. So the driver that finishes first will start with the slower car in the next race, and the driver that finishes last will start with the faster car in the next race. But in this case, so we'll choose a PP limit, and then you can tune your car accordingly. Okay, so in terms of those two, so those are going to be obviously two of the main races, and then apart from that, so I'll also be organizing the Manufacturers Cup, a kind of Manufacturers Cup race or Nations Cup race, or tournament to be more specific. And in terms of the manufacturers, so we'll be able to choose one brand also to represent. And so I'm going to also draw the groups and to see which manufacturers will compete against each other. And then apart from that, there will also be like individual competitions, like for example in terms of group 4, for example. So let's imagine, so if you choose like the Suzuki Swift, so for example you would participate in the kind of Manufacturers Cup race or tournament, and then so you'll also participate in the FF tournament, so to see basically which team would be the FF champion. So it will be like, for example, like I said before, and I can show you very quickly here. Let me check, so category. Okay, let's select by wheelbase. So for example, in terms of FF cars, so there would be 3 drivers per team. Like for example, so you'd have to write a comment down below to say, for example, which is your PS ID name, and then for example which team you would like to represent. Like for example, so if you choose one of the FF cars, so let's imagine, like I said before, if you choose the Suzuki Swift, so you would be competing against the Audi TT, the Renault Megane, the Peugeot RCZ, and the Volkswagen Scirocco. So there will be 5 brands, so divided by 3 drivers per team, so which would be a total of 15 drivers. So 3 drivers representing each team, and then so obviously the points that will be added are basically the same, so 1 point for the last place driver and 15 points for the first place driver, and we'll add the team points accordingly. Yeah, so and like I said, so I'm going to do this not just for the FF cars obviously, but also then FR cars, MR cars, and 4-wheel drive cars. I'm going to choose some specific cars that will participate in each of those tournaments. Yeah, okay, so then obviously not just that, I'm going to do the same, for example, for group 3 cars. And also, sorry, like I was going to say, apart from participating in the FF competition to see which team will be, for example, the FF champion, so you will also participate, for example, if you choose Suzuki, so in the Japan and Korea tournament, so which means that will only be teams from Asia, so Japan and Korea, that will compete against each other. And for example, if you choose an American car, so for example, they would compete to Dodge against Chevrolet and Ford, obviously, so the Mustang. So to see in this case, so which would be the American champion, and then the Japanese champion, the French champion, with the French teams obviously, so Peugeot, Renault and Citroën as well, and then the Italian Group 4 tournament, only with Italian cars, so Lamborghini, Ferrari and Alfa Romeo, and the German cars, so obviously with the Porsche, BMW, Volkswagen, Mercedes, AMG, and BMW. Yeah, so the numbers would work like that. So obviously first I'll have to organize the groups of the team. So in the case of these races, so since obviously I don't want people to feel, like not very motivated in participating because they feel like they are slower than the others. So what I'm going to do in terms of these specific tournaments is that, for example, they will be divided by SR. So, for example, A drivers will only compete against other A drivers, B drivers against other B drivers, and C drivers, for example, against other C drivers, and so on. So it will depend on their rating. So that way I think it will be fair, or we can also maybe divide them into groups and maybe do a kind of promotion relegation system, depending on the number of participants that we have in each series or each tournament. So obviously, and like I said, so this would also apply, for example, in terms of there'll be also Group B tournament, Group 3, Group 2, Group 1 in here. So there are 10 groups of cars, so they would be divided by country. And for example, so you would choose which team you would want to represent. But so like I said, but for example, if you choose Peugeot, so you will have to use the 205 and the RCZ. And if you choose Toyota, for example, you will have to use the 86 and the Celica GT4. So basically, you will have to use every single car. So if you want to choose a team, so obviously you have to choose which team you think you'll be better at. So like for example, in the case of Subaru, also so the WRX and Impreza also have to use both. So and it will be divided like that. So in terms of instruments, but like I said, so in terms of the standard shuffle tournament and the tune shuffle tournament, so in that case it won't really matter. So in terms of SR, so I'm not really going to divide, for example, A-rated drivers or B or C. It will depend on how many people decide to join the tournament, but it will be, since if you win the race, so you will have to start with a slower car in the next race. So I don't think that will make a lot of difference. So in this case, I think we can probably mix all the DR levels in terms of A+, A, B, C, D, or E even. So I don't think it will make a lot of difference. So like I said, all the groups will be drawn, and then obviously the fuel usage and the tire wear, they will also be drawn at random. So you will know, for example, the car that you're going to be participating in those shuffle races, but you will only know the track and tire wear and fuel usage in the day of the race. So that way you won't really be able to practice a lot, and that's mostly because also, I guess, like most players like me, we don't really have a lot of time to practice or do this, so we just want to enjoy and have fun and maybe try all different types of cars, and that way, so since we don't usually have a lot of time to practice, so I think it will be fair for everyone. So if we do it like that, so in that case, so no one will really have a lot of time to practice. Also, like I said, in terms of penalties, so penalties will be applied, so be careful not to be a dirty driver, for example, or you will be eliminated from the competition. But well, mistakes will happen, so it will be fine. And but so, for example, so if you push to pass someone, so you have to make sure that within that same lap, so you'll let that the other person go, so in front of you. So if you do that, so obviously you won't get any penalties. But if you don't do that, so you will probably receive a penalty at the end of the race. So that's why all results in terms of the race results will be provisional, because like I said, I will be checking all the results and then see if any penalties will apply or not. And you can also you would like to participate in, and so in terms of, for example, standard shuffle racing or tuned shuffle racing, and then also if you want to participate in one of the other competitions, for example with group 1, 2, 3 or 4, or group B also with rally cars. So make sure to tell me down below in the comments, so for example, which team you would like to represent. So if you'd like to represent, like I said, so like Suzuki, Renault, or Ferrari, or BMW, or so on, so you can choose the M3. So that would mean that you will have to use those 4 cars in different races. So there will always be a total of 10 races. So for that, you'll have to use let's imagine at least 2 times or in 2 different races, the BMW M3, the Z4, the endurance model M6, and the sprint model M6. Okay, so I just wanted to leave this information for now. So this information for now, and then, like I said, I'm not sure if tonight or maybe tomorrow night I can maybe give you some more information. Okay, so thanks for being here and watching. So, and then, well, I'll see you soon. Hopefully this time without any kind of problems, and since my microphone apparently is working okay now, so I think everything will be fine. And also, just to finish by saying that all the races on those tournaments that we are going to do, so they will be live streamed. So I'll be streaming all those races live. Obviously, I'm probably going to be commenting on those races as well. And not sure if I'm going to be participating. Maybe I can participate at least in some of them, just to make things also a bit interesting. I was thinking about maybe participating in 1 or 2. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to participate in all of them, but we'll see. Okay, so see you soon.